Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Tom. Oh, Thursday. And 2 time zone Thursday, right? This is the first time we've done this in 2 different time zones.
I know. It's interesting. So
hello, Tom. No? Okay.
I think we solved that with the telephone a long time ago, that we didn't have to worry about that delay.
Okay. All right. We could do it like when they're on NASA and you say something and then there's like a 4-second delay that annoys everyone.
Well, we probably have that delay because people are worried, excuse me, about sneezing or what, right. The FCC is worried about like what might come out of it.
Don't.
Anyhow, everyone, good morning. This is today's Antidote. That's Bob and I'm Tom. And, we do this daily broadcast. Whether we are both in Baltimore or whether one of us is in Texas and the other one is in Baltimore, we do this daily show as a way to provide one thing to help you keep moving forward. We have a conversation about a topic, and then we share what our one thing is. And we know that sometimes our one thing is going to be different than yours. What's real for us is different than what's real for you. And so we hope that you will add to the conversation with your comments. And at the end, please provide your one thing. Because your one thing might be different than ours, and there are people out there who will see it and benefit from it. It will add value to what is real for them. And so with that, we're going to move forward. We've been talking this week about being all in. And today, after talking about being all in terms of knowledge, experience, and perspective the last 3 days, we're going to put it all together and talk about being all in on what is real for you. So why don't you share some thoughts on that, Bob?
First of all, thanks, Tom. That was great introduction. I love that you very quickly covered our names. So we're learning. It only took us a year to realize that you can see our names, hear our names, and we don't have to say it. So there's evolution.
280 episodes.
And there's a great example, frankly, of knowledge, experience, perspective all coming together to improve the program. And someone else might have said, guys, person introduces you at the beginning. I can see your name. You're all over the place. Why are you introducing yourselves? And I think if someone had said that to me 10 months ago, I might have said, no, I think you're wrong. Now I have a year of experience, and I've had the experience of listening to our program as a listener, and it clicked for me like, hey, you're right. This doesn't make sense. We should be doing this a different way. And I think that's what pulling it all together and being all in is, opening your eyes to things that may be uncomfortable, things you may have overlooked, things that require you to make changes to better satisfy your customers. And, you're doing some speaking today in an industry, in the lumber industry, where they've had some challenges. The hardwood lumber industry in the U.S. has had a very difficult last 10, 20 years. Prices have gone down, tariffs. That industry, from what I've observed, has been somewhat reluctant to take on those challenges. But with your speaking today, they're going to get new knowledge, new experience, and a new perspective, which may cause some of them to go, whoa, hey, wow, yeah, I see it now. And to me, all in is being willing to see those things when they may not be comfortable. I mean, it's one of the things you and I work with people on all the time. It's like, well, I really don't want to change this because it works real well for me. Well, what about for your customer? Yeah, I can see where it's a pain for them. Okay, that's a challenge. Need to confront that. And also there are times when things are very uncomfortable for us to have to deal with. It's not always easy for us to go, oh, I'll give a great example. 15 years ago, there were companies that didn't want to use the internet.
Sure.
They're like, oh, it's a fad. It's going to go away. Well, kind of didn't. And as someone who was selling people on the idea of websites back then, 10, 12 years ago, that was a tough climb sometimes because people are like, I don't use the internet. I don't have a phone that uses the internet, because this was before we even had cell phones or smartphones. So that was the experience. But then over time, it was funny how many people I talked to would say, yeah, my kids were showing me all you can do on the internet. I really think we should jump into this. Like, jump into it.
Well,
and
yeah.
and sometimes, other things. I had someone approach me yesterday about mining Bitcoins in my basement, and that you buy a machine and you mine Bitcoins. And I was like, that sounds crazy to me. And he said, yeah, I thought that too. But then I started to look into it more and it makes sense. I was like, dude, I'm not there.
Yeah.
That was my knowledge, my experience, my perspective were not in alignment with that idea. And I'm not saying it's wrong. It could be the most brilliant idea in the world. And yet again, Bob missed the boat. Totally get that possibility. But it didn't align. And to me, being all in is me saying to him right there in that discussion, not, oh, that's really interesting. Why don't you do a demo for me? Just saying to him flat out, hey, this doesn't fit where I am right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in there that I agree with, and I think there's the big being all in. I think that's and we have to choose. We can't be all in on everything. We have to kind of make decisions on what are those things that we're going to be all in on, and sometimes they're not as big. They don't, or at least they don't seem as big. This week is a good example. Interestingly enough, that yesterday you had a long night the night before. It would have been very easy to be like, you know what, we're not going to do the show today. It was a long night, whatever. And I'm out here.
Well, you were in my head. That was exactly the discussion.
Imagine that I might be thinking about what's going on in your head. And I could
recommend.
I'm traveling today and tomorrow. And so, yeah, why don't we just bail this week? And I think what we believe is that being all in on this is that, yes, sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's challenging to be all in. And I think that's when you start to find the reward. That's when you start to really see the value of staying with where you're at. So often people give up right before things are about to turn. Now it's hard because you never know. You might feel like you've been at that point for a while. And okay, maybe you make that decision and that's what's real for you, and you start mining Bitcoins. Or you say, you know what, I'm going to continue to invest in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing. And even though it's difficult, it's interesting. I'm going to talk with this group about that today, is that sometimes when things are going the hardest is when you need to be all in. That's the time. It's funny, it's a kind of a poker reference. If you play Texas Hold'em, it's all, at some point people go all in, which means they push all of their chips into the middle. They risk everything they have on what they believe, either based on strategy or on what is real for them at the moment, that they have the best hand and that this gives them the best opportunity to win. And I think so often, sometimes we only think about being all in when things are going great. I've got all the money, I've got everything's going well, I've got lots of clients, I'm really all in. I think when we find out if we're truly all in is when things are tough, is when the challenges are there, and we have to make that decision. Is this what I'm committed to? Or, and it could be okay, that it's time to shift and do something different. And I think those are also the times when we find out the most about ourselves. Sometimes it's easy when everything is going your way. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm all in, because you're really reaping the benefits. When things are hard, it's easy to be like, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm all in, but I'm also thinking about something else. And maybe there's a plan B that's going on. And I think that some of those times we start to lose our way because things got difficult. And, we talked about that with a group of people earlier this week. What are the obstacles you're facing? And you can look at obstacles as things standing in your way that you can't figure out how to get around. Or you can choose to look at them as, what are the opportunities that come from those obstacles? What if I look at now when it's really tough, what do I know? What have I tried? What's different? How can I look at this differently? And figure out, okay, from that, Where do I go from here?
I think we also all face obstacles.
Of course.
And I think all of us struggle on certain days with, being all in. I think there are days when we all want to just pitch it, be like, I want to go back to bed. And that's normal. It's how you handle that. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, geez, yesterday I really didn't want to do this thing anymore. Okay, well, one day you might have that feeling. I've had that like, oh man, I got to deal with all these people today. I'm just not in the mood. I just want to sit and chill and read a book. But those, to me, are the days where you really show you're all in. The days when you don't want to do something. Like when you were talking about us not doing this yesterday or today. Yeah, I had the thought about it for yesterday. But that thought went away very quickly because it's like, no, consistency matters. There might be someone who needs to hear what we have to say today, and this will be the one day that they really needed to hear us for whatever reason, and we weren't there. And I couldn't sleep with that on my conscience. I mean, that was really important to me. And I think we all have that in our business endeavors. It's like, boy, if I'm not there today, that person isn't going to get the widget that they need for me to fix. They're not going to get that piece of information they need. Their website's not going to run the way it needs to make sales. And so much of what we do in business is interconnected with other people that my all in leads to other people being all in. And if I'm all in and the people around me are all in, we can accomplish a lot more because we've all had the experience of working with a partner at some level or a vendor, and it's like they're not all in. Dude, I had a home contractor who was supposed to paint our house. He did it for 2 days and then he flaked out and disappeared. Still haven't seen him. It's been 10 years. He wasn't all in.
Well, or he may have had something else come up that took priority, and I think that's the piece.
But the communication would have been there. If he was all in, he could have said, hey, Bob, I'm really sorry, but I broke my leg at the grocery store today. I can't climb the ladder and paint. Oh, dude, that's fine.
Right.
All in is explaining to the person, hey, you know what? I'm going to be in Texas this morning because I'm doing this thing, and this might be a little hairy, but we'll make it work. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the piece of that is, being all in is at least communicating and sharing with others why you may be like, you know what, this is a bad day for me. I don't know what it is, but it's just not right. And I can continue. We could have your meeting. I just know I might not be at my best. And so because I am a little distracted and I am all in. I want to support you where you're at. I want to be available for what your needs are. And I want to make sure I'm doing that at a point where I can truly do that. Because, again, if you're not feeling well or if you're tired or whatever the case might be, and are you truly there? Are you truly all in? Or are you like, yeah, I'm here because I know I need to be here, but really I'm wishing I was in bed because I don't feel well? I think those are choices we have to make, and then we just have to communicate them. So
I think that communication is critical because if you're honest with people, they know that you're all in. Like I had a meeting last night and at 5:30, and I got there and the woman I was working with immediately identified. She's like, whoa, you need some sleep. I was like, yeah, I was up all night. My wife's got some issues and, it's all good now. And she's like, what, do you want to just cancel this? I'm like, no, I'm here. Let's go. So I was with the company till about 10 p.m., which was about 2 hours later than I expected. And at the end, she pulled me aside and she said, for a guy who didn't really want to be here and was really tired, you really brought your A game. I was like, that's really nice to say. And I think sometimes people respond to that they're looking for you to be the weak link. And I wasn't last night. Now, I had to work hard. I mean, there were times where I was like, yeah, okay. But I did my job. So let me throw some comments in. We've got some great comments this morning. I love Tim's comment. Tom's haircut reminds me I need a haircut.
Just a different angle. No haircut.
What happened? I got my haircut the other day. No one says a word. I guess you're the important one. Tim says, what? You're not mining Bitcoin, not Bitcoin. Man, about the same to me at this point. John says, good morning. Hey, John, good to see you. And Tim says, within every setback or obstacle or disadvantage, there's a seed of an equal or opposite or greater advantage or benefit, says the great Napoleon Hill. And I love that quote because there is an opportunity if we're willing to figure things out. Obstacles have, all my great improvements in what I've done have come from obstacles. I've told the story about where Tim and I did a website business and we cut the price so low, we thought we were brilliant, but the price was too low because people didn't believe we could do it at that price. That information has helped me help so many other people price things. When they're like, no, it's got to be this number. I'm like, well, why? Well, because that would be really low. And I'm like, but would it be too low?
Or
go, really whoa, wow, I see what you mean. And I wouldn't have known that had I not been through that experience. And I think that's what we're talking about here really is, what are the experiences? What's the perspective that you have today that wasn't the same as a year ago? Because I often find with perspective especially, it's stair climbing. Your perspective broadens a little today and then a little more tomorrow and a little more the next day. You're having that with the lumber industry. You got to go to dinner with some people last night. You got to understand that industry a little better. And today when you speak to them, you'll get some more information. You'll see how they react to you saying things that they may never have heard or never wanted to hear. And then tomorrow you'll talk to the people around the lobby and they'll be like, yeah, that was a really interesting presentation, but I disagree with that. You'd be like, oh, okay, wow, tell me more.
Sure.
And that's what really leads to me being all in, is when that person says, I disagree with what you said yesterday, you don't go, oh, well, I'm the paid speaker, not my problem. You go, please tell me more.
Sure. I would say, I appreciate that. That was what's real for me. Share with me what's real for you.
Exactly. And I think that's being all in. And that means after you get back home and you have time to digest the whole experience, you can be like, wow, I pushed too hard, or I didn't push hard enough, or wow, I really miscalculated. I have to do more homework before I get there because clearly I could have done this better. If I had had this person's perspective that I got Friday on Wednesday, it would have colored everything. And then if you're like me, it's like, I want to go back and do it next year with all that new information. So Tom, what's your one thing today?
I think my one thing is, I've been struggling with this. I've been trying to think about it, and I don't know that I necessarily have one.
Oh, no, it's going to be the day without a one thing.
No, there was one thing. I think it's...
And this is today's non-antidote.
No, that's not going to happen. I think the one thing is that it's funny, the topic is putting it all together. And maybe my one thing is, we put it all together based on what we know today. And that tomorrow we might have to put it all together again because things will change. We'll be impacted. Our knowledge, experience, and perspective will be different. If tomorrow, we wake up and something happens and we all have to pivot and shift, being all in could look very different. And I think that maybe is the piece of it, is that you put it all together for the moment. And then as things shift and change, you have to put it all together again. And just being understanding of what does it mean? It was like yesterday, we talked a little bit about defining it. And I think that's, that will change as what's real for you changes. And so I guess that's it, is put it all together today, walk away and say, you know what, that was great. And I might have to put it all together again tomorrow, based on whatever opportunities or obstacles come my way.
It reminds me of the old Rubik's Cube. Remember the Rubik's Cube? And you'd figure out, I never did, but people I'd see would figure it out how to get all the sides so they were all the same colors. And then someone would grab it in the evening and mess with it, change it all. The person would get up the next morning and be like, oh, now I got to do it again. I'm certain that doing it again, they didn't do it exactly the same way. It would have to have been different. But they put it back together. I know there are techniques that you can use and there's a whole, but if the blues are on different places, you'd have to do something different. And to me, that image of putting it all together so you get that Rubik's Cube with that solid side, that's what we're doing in our endeavors. Whether you're a manager, you're a leader, you're an owner, you're an entrepreneur, we're all putting it together every single day. It's not, I don't have very many ready-made days. There is always a challenge or an obstacle in my way, sometimes self-created.
Sure.
But that's part of what building a business, building an opportunity, building a team is all about. I've seen it with someone close to me who's had staffing issues where people just come in, work for 6 months, a year, and then they move to another job. And it's like, we're doing hiring again. And that's just the nature of the beast. You can't do anything about it. And that's part of the challenge. And so many companies, I know you're going to see it today, finding the right people is hard.
Sure. And it's an opportunity.
Exactly. I was going to say there's an opportunity to figure out what really matters to employees and to provide it to them. And we've seen it over the last 10 years, and companies realizing that health benefits weigh a lot more than they thought before.
Well, it's interesting. I don't think people ever ask.
Right.
We make an assumption that you make an assumption health benefits are what matters. Maybe. But what would happen if we asked that in an interview? It's like, what are the values that are most important to you? Might we not better understand that everyone is going to be unique and different? And we might need to think about how we deal with them as that unique and different individual.
I worked with a company not that long ago where they thought that money was the driver for the employees, and it turned out stability was the magic phrase. And once those employees heard that, we provide stability by doing A, B, and C, there was more interest. And there was a different kind of person applying for positions because that resonated with them, and that stability is what they were looking for. And those were the people that the company was looking for. So it's finding those things. And that would not have been what I would have thought. Certainly not what the owner of that company thought up to that point. And we just started to look at things and ask questions. And next thing you know, you find that. And I think that's what I would say. My one thing is, if you're all in and you're trying to put it together, ask more questions. Ask your customers the hard questions. Ask yourself the hard questions. And it can be as simple as, hey, am I open from 9 to 4 because that's convenient for me? Or is it because it's convenient for the customer? Because I worked with a company where they started to open in the evenings. Sales soared. Mm-hmm. People didn't like it because it meant they had to work in the evenings, but they were making a whole lot more money.
Well, that goes to your hiring practices, right?
Right, exactly. So asking those hard questions. And if you're not sure what those questions are to ask, or you keep getting the same answer and it doesn't seem to be moving things forward, Tom and I would love to talk to you. We love to ask the hard questions. It's one of our favorite things in the whole wide world. We are both so wired to do. It's one of my favorite things. And not hard questions like, what's wrong with you? But hey, what about this? And that's why we do laser solution sessions. That's why we built the Renegade Success Network, to help people by asking them questions. I was explaining this to someone yesterday. The Renegade Success Network is not you join this network and we solve all your problems for you. I don't have the solutions to everyone's problems. I can barely solve my own problems most days. What I can do is help someone look at things from different perspectives, use different knowledge, different experience, so that they can become better able to resolve their own issues and to figure it out for themselves. And the greatest thing I love hearing is like, oh, wait, I got to write this down. And it's not anything I said. It's something that jarred from just asking the right question. So if you've never done that before, never had that experience, I will tell you it's so powerful. It's so amazing how freeing, how clearing, how engaging it is. And Tom and I do this with people every day of the week. If you were to want to do this with us, you would not be an exception. You would be the rule, most of the people here, because we all know that we're stuck in different things. And getting an outside perspective, getting someone to ask the questions that you may not even know. Tom does it with me all the time. If you've watched this broadcast for a couple of months, year, you've seen Tom do it with me where he's like, wait, hey, let me ask you a question, Bob. that's usually the opening door to something far greater. And we've been doing it with each other now for what, 10 years?
Probably, yeah.
And now we're making it available to more people, and we're trying to gather people that see that value. So, Tom, playing it out, I know you got things to do, people to see. You got a big presentation to give. Wish you the best of luck with that. Folks, we will see you tomorrow morning again. We're going to be a little early. It's going to be 7 a.m. Eastern time. So it's a get up early Friday. Get up, get it done, and get rocking and rolling. So until then, thank you so much. And Tom, show them the Renegade Success Network, can you?
I will do that. And just in case, if you're not already a member of our Ring of Renegades network, you can join us by joining Facebook or just searching that and be a part of our growing community of people helping to figure out how to take their next step forward on their own unique pathway to success. You just have to ask to join and tell us why you're a renegade, and you can become a part of that group. So we hope that we will see you there. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Central time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. And here is some information about the Renegade Success Network. Are you struggling to make your vision a reality? Are you stuck and don't know what to do next? Are fear and doubt holding you back? The Renegade Success Network will help you determine the next steps on your pathway. Here is some of what you will get. Create your pathway call to start you on a better path. Unlimited laser solution sessions to keep you from getting stuck. Nurture your network events to build your network with other successful leaders. Monthly Renegade challenges to prepare you for what lies ahead. The Renegade Success Vault, giving you access to videos, tools, and tips on specific topics anytime you need them. And the Renegade Success Network community, an exclusive Facebook group of like-minded renegades, all working towards achieving their goals. You have a choice. Do it yourself and fumble forward slowly and alone. Or join the Renegade Success Network and be part of a community built to help you find your own pathway. Join today at renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Act now and jumpstart your journey on your own pathway to success.